Our season in review videos continue on today with the New York Rangers, and the Rangers certainly had a season. I think that's the best way you can really describe this past year. It was definitely a season for the New York Rangers. They go from President's Trophy winners to a very, very, very disappointing year, and a year of change as well. First and foremost, going back to 2022, 2023, where they were 47, 22, and 13 for 107 points. They were ninth in the NHL. They lost in round one to the New Jersey Devils. I thought it was a pretty disappointing year. You had kind of high expectations for this Rangers team, and they just, simply being put, weren't able to do anything with them, if we're being honest. And in my opinion, that was extremely disappointing, and it continued into the next 2 years, even though last year was much better. 55, 23, and 4 for 114 points. They were first in the NHL. They won the President's Trophy. They took Florida to 6 games, and they obviously lost that series. Again, it was just another year of, I guess I should say, disappointment for the New York Rangers, and it just wasn't what we wanted to see from this team. And overall, I'm still very disappointed from that year, but I'm even more disappointed from the year we just had. 39, 36, and 7 for 85 points. They were 22nd in the NHL. They scored 256 goals, allowed 255 for actually a +1 difference. So their difference is actually good. Somewhat. The best difference we've seen so far of these reviews. But overall, it was such a disappointing year. Honestly, just the management perspective and how, the roster got shaken up so much this year. Some of the things that were super good last year took a massive dip. This past year, it was overall just a really, really disappointing year for the New York Rangers, and there's really nothing else to say. They were 19, 19, and 3 at home, and they were 20, 17, and 4 on the road. They were actually good on the road, which is weird. They were worse at home than they were on the road. They, and this isn't going to surprise you. I'm going to be honest with you. You look at their differential, it shouldn't surprise you. They scored an average of 3.11 goals for per game, which was 12th, and they allowed an average of 3.11 as well, which was 19th. So again, it doesn't surprise you that those numbers are incredibly similar when it comes to that, when you look at the differential, obviously. But I will say this, the overall power play was incredibly disappointing. 17.6%, which is 28th in the league this past year. Their PK was good, 80.3%, which was 11th. But overall, the power play, you could argue that was a massive factor why the Rangers did not make the playoffs this past year. Just the power play overall was incredibly disappointing, and I was not a big fan of it. Just going to say that here out loud. I was not a big fan of how they handled their power play and all that this past year. But again, just the whole year was full of just shakeups and management failures and just poor performances and controversy from players. It was actually kind of insane. Your leading scorer was Artemi Panarin, who had his sorts of controversy. 80 games played, 37 goals, 52 assists for 89 points. Panarin gets accused of sexual assault, plays that night. Just insane how that's not even really him. It's just the culture of hockey and how crazy that is. But overall, he had a good year, just in terms of his overall stats. Not as good as years prior, but still a decent season. Was above a point per game. You can't really complain there. I didn't think it was too bad, to be honest with you. JT Miller was their second guy in scoring. Now, I put an asterisk next to Miller because not all of those numbers were with the Rangers. Some of that was with the Vancouver Canucks. But JT Miller, 72 games played, 22 goals, 48 assists for 70 points. I just thought it was a disappointing season from Miller. I mean, he actually had a pretty good year, but just overall, the drama with Vancouver and all that, and beef versus Pettersson, I was a little bit frustrated with how he kind of let that get in the way of his game a little bit, and it was a little bit annoying. But Miller going to the Rangers just feels like such a Rangers move. He was a former Ranger before. It just makes so much sense, if I'm being honest with you guys. Mika Zibanejad, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. 82 games played, 20 goals, 42 assists for 62 points. Zibanejad, I don't know, honestly. I didn't think he had that good of a season either. Did have 60 points, which isn't bad, but 20 goals? A 20-goal season from Zibanejad? Like, oh, that's so disappointing, honestly. It's incredibly disappointing when you look at a guy who's been a prolific goal scorer, not like a prolific goal scorer, but like a known goal scorer for a couple of years now, and has been incredibly disappointing the last couple of seasons. It's just so upsetting, and I don't really know where it went wrong. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Adam Fox, now we get to Fox, who had a pretty rough year, but wasn't terrible. 74 games played, 10 goals, 51 assists for 61 points. His overall stock when it comes to other defensemen in the NHL really dropped this past year. I don't think he's a top 3 defenseman anymore. I hate to say that, but I don't think so. I think there's at least 3 or 4 other defensemen that are better than him, to be honest. So it's very unfortunate there how his drop from grace happened, but you have a disappointing season on a disappointing team. It's not surprising, but I don't think he was that bad. He wasn't the number one issue with New York this past season. I didn't think he was terrible, but again, he was definitely a part of some of the issues that went on this past year. Vincent Trocheck was 5th in scoring, 82 games played, 26 goals, 33 assists, 59 points. Trocheck, not a terrible year, but still disappointing. Somebody who I liked this year was Will Cooley. I thought he was a big positive this past year. He isn't a rookie. He's played too many games to be a rookie, but this was his first full season, if I'm correct. 82 games played, 20 goals, 25 assists for 45 points. I thought Cooley had a good year. That's not a bad year. 20 goals, 40-point season. Not too bad there. I like those numbers a lot. Alexis Lafreniere, who was a first overall pick, got the same amount of points as a second round pick. 82 games played, 17 goals, 28 assists for 45 points. I don't know what to think with Lafreniere anymore. I don't think he's the guy we thought he was going to be. I'm not rustling any feathers by saying that, but just overall, he's the fall from what he was projected to be is just so disappointing. And I think a lot of it is just the Rangers, period, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think otherwise, if he's on another team, I feel like he was just developed so poorly in New York. And I wouldn't be shocked we're seeing guys get moved on from here left and right. The amount of shakeups on the roster has been absolutely insane. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one of those coming up here soon with Alexis Lafreniere. I know there's no really fire behind that. It's just me puffing smoke, but I wouldn't be shocked. K'Andre Miller, 74 games played, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points. I can almost guarantee you he will be gone this year. He will be gone in the offseason. I can almost 110% guarantee that's going to happen. I just seeing the rumors that I've been seeing, I can almost guarantee that he will not be a New York Ranger next season. Braden Schneider, 80 games played, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. All right year from Schneider. I feel like he's a more defensive type of player, type of defenseman. And then Sam Carrick, 80 games played, 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points this past year as well. Carrick, just def player. The fact that he's in the top 10 is actually pretty concerning. But yeah, again, it was just a really rough year from the New York Rangers. I don't really know what else to say. Igor Shesterkin did all he could, but he couldn't do everything. 27, 29, and 5 with a 2.86 goals against average and a .905 save percentage. His numbers aren't awful, they aren't absolutely atrocious numbers, but they're still not good enough for NHL type of standards to make the playoffs or anything like that. And then Jonathan Quick, 11, 7, and 2, a 3.17 and a .893. Yeah, I think we're on the tail end of Quick's career now. I think you can kind of tell that pretty easily here. I don't think you should be too surprised. But yeah, overall, just everything statistically with the Rangers was pretty bad. But they were not afraid to make trades. That was absolutely something they were not afraid of. Let's kind of go down the list here. They started off by trading Jacob Trouba, their captain, to Anaheim in exchange for Urho Vakakainen and a 25 fourth-round pick. That fourth-round pick they would use in the Chris Kreider deal later on. We'll get into that here in just a moment. But yeah, you move on from your captain. I can't say it was the wrong move, like, on paper, because Trouba was, I feel like, a negative asset, but morally, for the locker room, it had to have had a negative impact, and I'm almost certain that it did. And that really affected the team throughout the rest of the season. They also traded Capo Caco to the Seattle Kraken in exchange for Will Borgen, a 25 third round pick, and a 25 sixth round pick. So I think, again, Kako was not getting his fair share with the Rangers, and as well as that too, I think that he kind of wanted to leave, and they grant him that wish. I think they lost that deal. I know Borgen's been decent for them, and they got 2 picks out of it, but I feel like even still, Kako has been a really good acquisition with the Seattle Kraken on an already negative team over there. Then you look at the big JT Miller deal, where they acquired JT Miller, Eric Brandstrom, and Jackson Dorrington from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Philip Chytil, Victor Mancini, and a 25 first round pick. Yeah, just overall, it's not a. I mean, I like the trade. Um, it really doesn't change things though for New York. I said that at the time. Like, I don't really think it moves the needle or anything like that for me. I like Miller. I think maybe next year on the full season with New York, he can be very good. He actually was very good with the Rangers, but again, I don't know if this changes everything, all the problems that the Rangers really have. So again, I don't like hate it, but it's not something that like I'm terribly high on, to be completely honest with you. And then you give up Hedel, who is an injury-prone center. Like, I think they win the trade. We'll see what happens with the first round pick. They currently do have that pick, so they got Miller for basically Hedel and Mancini. Like, that's not too bad, especially if you draft the pick yourself. I guess we'll find out with that. But again, I'm not terribly sure what's going on there. They traded Ryan Lindgren, Jimmy Vesey, and Hank Kampf to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Juuso Parssinen, Calvin DeHaan, a 25 fourth round pick, and a 25 second round pick. So, again, that move was just getting Ryan Lindgren out of there. The fact that they got a second round pick is insane. But I thought they did pretty good with, acquiring some draft picks and some extra depth players. That being said, though, those depth players are probably not going to be there next season. So you basically traded away Ryan Lindgren for a second round pick, which isn't that bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. They also traded Riley Smith back to Vegas in exchange for Brendan Brisson, not his dad, for a 25 third round pick. Pat is a agent, not the player. Brendan Brisson is who they acquired from the Vegas Golden Knights. That's not a bad deal. Again, that third round pick that they got in that deal, they would also use to acquire Carson Soucy from Vancouver. So again, I feel like that's pretty decent asset management there. You get not too bad of like a young player, and then you get a solid top 4 defenseman for a third round pick essentially. And Riley Smith, that's not too bad. I didn't really hate that deal. To be terribly honest with you. And then the last deal that I have here, I understand that it's not exactly during the season, but it is in the offseason. I'm going to just bring it up here. Chris Kreider and a 4th round pick to Anaheim in exchange for Carey Terrance and a 25 third round pick. So remember that 4th round pick that I said in the Jacob Trouba trade? Well, they used that 4th round pick to move up in the draft by getting Toronto's 3rd round pick in this coming draft, and then Carey Terrance for Chris Kreider. So I think, again, that's good asset management there by Chris Drury. It's diabolical how these teams are letting the Rangers get off literally unscathed with all these massive contracts they have. It's diabolical to me, to be honest with you. But I guess this is how it is. So taking a look now into the American Hockey League with the Hartford Wolfpack, who went 30, 33, 7, and 2 for 69 points this past year, and they were 27th in the AHL. I know I'm making that mistake so much. Yeah, Hartford was not that great. Just going to put that out there. They weren't that good of a team. I'm not surprising anybody by saying that. Their leading scorer was Alex Belzile, who had 66 games played, 19 goals, 37 assists, 56 points. Benoit Oliver Graux, who I forgot was even playing, 47 games played, 15 goals, 22 assists, 37 points. Anton Bleed, who had 71 games played, 19 goals, 17 assists, 36 points. Rookie Dylan Roberek, I believe I'm saying that right. 72 games played, 20 goals, 14 assists, 34 points. And then Adam Sikora, who had 71 games played, 9 goals, 21 assists for 30 points. So, yeah, Hartford was not that great for development. I got to be honest with you. You had some guys come up from there that this past year, so I'm not going to say like it's been terrible, but overall, not a good team down there in Hartford. I don't think I'm surprising anybody by saying that either. You look at the pipeline. The pipeline is much better. It's got some actually pretty decent players in it. The real question is, how will the Rangers not screw this up this time? And you could already argue they are, ironically enough. Gabe Peralt, first and foremost, 37 games played, 16 goals, 32 assists for 48 points. Had 5 games played in the NHL this past year. He was with Boston College. Yeah, Peralt, I think, has a lot of talent to be a really good player in the NHL. Was well over a point per game in the NCAA, which is very important and shows his overall game. But he was getting scratched and literally being banished to the fourth line on the Rangers. So I really don't know. And it's not Peralt's fault. It's a developmental problem. It is what the Rangers have been for years. This has been a problem that we've had for literal years with the New York Rangers. This isn't just the first time thing. Brennan Othmann, 27 games played, 12 goals, 8 assists, 20 points. Actually played 22 games in the NHL this past year. So Othmann wasn't too bad. I thought he had a good year. I think that, again, you play only 27 games in the A, and then you get some time up in the NHL, a decent amount of time too. Like, he's not going to be a prospect next year at this point. I think that's good. I think he's done very well here for himself, especially with Hartford. I thought he had good numbers there. EJ Emery in the NCAA had 31 games played, 0 goals, 1 point. Emery, we can tell, is like a defensive defenseman, so I'm not surprised about that. I don't think he's too bad. Again, you got to see how it pans out. Drew Fortescue, who was also in the NCAA, 36 games played, 0 goals, 11 assists. So again, I think that Fortescue kind of the same instance. I think he's actually a forward, though. I might be wrong about that. I'm probably looking wrong about that, but not too bad. It's late at night. I'm a little bit tired. And then Adam Sikora, who I mentioned earlier, 71 games played, 9 goals, 21 assists, 30 points. Really, more or less, it's like Peralt and Othmann, and then it's kind of just the rest of kind of B sub-level prospects. Nothing too big there, but yeah, there's some good big-name guys. They grabbed Peralt like a steal in 2023. I really hope they don't mess him up because I like that kid a lot. I really like what that kid has and that potential. I really hope they don't screw that up. The draft capital with New York heading into this year's draft. Now, they have their first round pick as of the recording of this video. There is a possibility that when this video drops tomorrow or whenever it drops, that they may not have their first round pick. Who knows? They might give it to Pittsburgh. I don't know. They have a second round pick, which is theirs. They have 2 thirds, which are Seattle and Toronto's. They have a 4th, which is Vancouver's. They have their own 5th, 2 6, which one of them is Seattle's, and then a 7th round pick as well. So they're picking in all 7 rounds of the draft. They have some extra draft capital to work with, but overall, it's mostly the same here with New York. I think, again, this is a team that is mostly built the right way, and I think they're ready to go for playoffs here at this point. Their UFAs, Nicholas Aube-Kubel and Calvin DeHaan, very short list. Very short list. And then their RFAs, it's a longer list, but I feel like a lot of these guys may not be there next year. Will Cooley, Adam Edstrom, Matt Rempe, who actually just signed a contract, so that's irrelevant now. Arthur Kaliev, K-Andre Miller, and Zach Jones. So again, you got some guys there who might get traded. Miller and Jones are my big guys that could get dealt. Cooley stays. I think you want to keep Cooley around. Rempe's obviously staying. He signed a contract literally today, so that's irrelevant. Kaliev, I don't know. I don't think he even played with the Rangers. And then, you can ask questions about the other guys. But overall, this team, it was a year of concerns with the management and just overall the culture of this Rangers team. But here's the thing. They'll probably be back in the playoffs next year. So here we are talking about, all of this. But this guy's probably going to be back in the playoffs next year. That's probably the expectation we're going to see. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the New York Rangers. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe down below if you're new to the channel. But anyways, that is it for me. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.